Farmers today are facing rising costs, volatile markets, and extreme weather. The A Better Way to Farm podcast digs into strategies to help you take control of farm inputs and maximize profit so your farm can thrive for generations. Remember to take advantage of our free resources at abetterwaytofarm.com. Now, from America's Heartland, here's your host.
Hello, guys, and welcome to today's podcast. This is Ryan with A Better Way to Farm, where we improve yields and increase profits. I'm extremely excited for today's topic, as it's something I'm very interested in, and I hope you are too. We will be discussing financing, and we have a very special guest. I'm talking with Stephanie Fackler with John Deere Financial. Stephanie, if you would, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your career with John Deere?
Of course. Hi, Ryan. Again, my name is Stephanie Fackler, and I'm with John Deere Financial. I'd love to start off with a little bit of history about myself and how I can really play a role in your financing and your farming in general. So about myself, I grew up on a small family farm in western Iowa. It was the typical corn, soybeans. We had cattle, we had hogs. I had chores that I was doing growing up every day. I was responsible for, animals and helping out on the farm. I went to college, and then right out of college, I started working with John Deere. And really, that's all I've ever known is farming and John Deere. So it's in my blood, it's in my DNA. Again, it's all I've ever known. But with my career with John Deere, I've worked across several divisions. So I've worked with our construction forestry division. I've worked with our ag and turf. And then the last 4 years that I've been with John Deere, I've spent on the finance side. And so my current role with John Deere Financial is as an area sales manager. And so I work within the states, Kansas and Missouri. I'm located in the Kansas City area, so centrally located. And I work with our agribusiness merchants to help our customers and our merchants using John Deere Financial financing for crop inputs, for seed, for feed, and other supplies.
Gotcha. Okay. Extremely interesting, kind of bleed green. Could you tell us a little history of where John Deere Financial kind of got its start, where it came from, and what it looks like today?
Absolutely, Ryan. So I would like to start back to the very beginning of John Deere. And so this is a little history as I understand it, or maybe it's a little legend, I'm not sure, but we're going to go with it. So it said that even at John Deere's founding, John Deere himself, back in 1837, was offering credit for some of the products that he was producing at that time. That self-scouring steel plow that he's so famous for. He was offering credit for those products that he was producing and some other supplies and tools and things, and continued to do that throughout the whole history. As we fast forward in time into the 1930s, as Brian, I know you weren't around in the 1930s, but as history may have all told us, there was the Great Depression in the 1930s. And that's really when a more formalized process was established within John Deere. And then as we continue on and into the 1950s, that's really when the federal government stepped in and started to apply some more rules and regulations. And John Deere wanted to adhere compliancy and make sure that we were doing things right from our business perspective, but then also for our customers. And so John Deere established John Deere Credit Company in 1958. Okay. And really that also helped us to be able to fund retail financing programs. And so we fast forward a little further in time. And Ryan, again, I don't know that you would have been around for the 1980s, but that was another tough time for farmers. It was the farm crisis, and it was an absolutely devastating economic downturn for farmers. And So, again, John Deere looked to support and do what we could for the farmers. And John Deere ended up acquiring a company called Farm Plan. Okay. And so some of our listeners may be familiar with that name or may have heard it at some point in the past. And so Farm Plan was basically a charge account that John Deere purchased because, as I mentioned, they were already offering financing for some of the equipment, but now they were looking at their customers and wanting to help support them with their parts and with their service. And so Farm Plan allowed that. Instead of taking an installment loan for equipment, now Farm Plan is a revolving line of credit with an established credit limit that a customer could go in and sort of use like a credit card at a John Deere dealer.
And that includes like farm inputs such as fertilizers, chemicals, different things.
Yep. So initially in the 80s, it's kind of just started off primarily with the parts and service. And then fast forward, I believe it was into the mid 90s as when yes, John Deere opened it up to the seed inputs, the seed, the feed, kind of a lot of different opportunities to expand the farm plan, because then it wasn't until 2011 and John Deere renamed it multi-use account. So if you hear farm plan or if you hear multi-use account, it's now called multi-use account. But yeah, it used to be farm plan. So some of us may still use it interchangeably or refer it as one thing or another. But I'm trying to get in a better habit myself of using multi-use account. Really, John Deere has been around for almost 190 years. So John Deere Financial, John Deere has been offering credit for equipment for almost 190 years, and then over 50 years of offering multi-use or again, farm plan, but offering this revolving type of credit. So it's, again, in John Deere's DNA that financing has been within the business structure.
Gotcha. Okay. Extremely interesting. Kind of as it grew up through the years. Okay. So what are some opportunities that John Deere Financial offers that maybe a traditional lender can't offer or is not offering in what they provide?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Ryan. So one thing that I'd like to start off with is that John Deere Financial is a captive finance company. And I say that in terms of that John Deere Financial is not a typical bank. We don't offer, savings accounts. We don't take deposits. We don't have checking accounts. And so we strictly offer financing for said equipment or even for the parts, the service, the seed, the feed, the crop inputs, things that our customers need to finance. And so John Deere itself and John Deere Financial, we've always been tied to those who work the ground, right? And part of John Deere's mission is to support those who produce food, fiber, fuel, and infrastructure.
Gotcha.
And so to really try to accommodate these customers are our customers. John Deere Financial offers varying offers. So low rates, extended terms, what we call no interest, no payments, which is kind of like a waiver. And so it's these different offers that we try to accommodate our customers in their businesses and their business cycles, especially when we talk about farmers and the harvest cycle. So that's where a lot of our different finance opportunities and what we try to do to work with our customers. And also, I believe I've mentioned that one thing that I would like to clear up for our customers is that to be a John Deere financing customer, you don't have to just buy John Deere equipment. We have over 9,000 merchants that are authorized users to be able to offer financing. So as I've been talking about the seed, the feed, the crop inputs, we have, again, over 9,000 merchants throughout the U.S. that are able to offer John Deere Financial financing for all of those options.
Gotcha. That's really, really interesting, really beneficial for the farmers. So how is John Deere Financial offering some of these different opportunities? Are third-party companies involved, or how exactly do these programs get started, how they work?
Yep, absolutely, Ryan. So you are correct in that John Deere Financial does work with various companies and other businesses, our merchants, our retailers, and even our dealers to help sponsor some of these financing offers. So that's why you're going to see so many different finance offers that are associated with a multi-use account. So depending on what you're purchasing and what you're needing and even the time frame, you're going to have different offers that are available to you. So we're really kind of just the conduit to help offer the financing, whereas some of these sponsors are the ones that are determining what the financing is going to be. And then in turn, we're funneling that through the merchants or the retailers or the distributors to be able to offer financing with said products.
Gotcha. So the merchants are creating these programs, and then John Deere is backing it, making it work. Am I understanding that correctly?
It could be a merchant, or it could be the manufacturer.
Okay.
An ultimate larger manufacturer that's sponsoring that. So
Gotcha.
A merchant could be, or even a larger manufacturer could be.
Gotcha. Because the most popular one I've heard of is the 0% until November. I think is kind of a popular one, or December. That's one I hear about a lot, and that's coming from these
larger sponsors. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And here's what I will say too, is that financing is a great tool for both our merchants to help with sales, but also our customers to, again, help with their business cycles. And so a lot of times right now when times are a little more tough and we want to make sure that our customers are able to afford, and I don't know if afford is the right word, but able to bear the cost of the inputs, then that is where some of this financing, such as 0%, and that's not due until November or December of later that year.
Gotcha.
And so, as I mentioned before, there's lots of different financing, though, that's out there. And it could be, a 6-month waiver, or it could be, maybe just a low rate that's available as well, besides just a 0%.
Kind of another tool in the toolbox to help us navigate these low prices.
Yeah.
So let's back up to say a farmer's looking for financing or maybe looking at different options. What are some costly mistakes that farmers should avoid when searching for financing or anything?
Yeah, I would say starting off, something to avoid is just getting stuck of the rut of using the exact same financing institution for any and everything, and maybe even the same bank that you've been banking your whole life. And I can say that coming from experience with my family, they used our operating line for everything. And as you know, that can vary, and oftentimes it follows prime rates, but it's really to your advantage to shop around and find out what is the best option out there. Now, obviously, I'm with John Deere Financial and I want to promote John Deere Financial, but there's lots of other finance institutions out there that will offer different financing. So that's one thing that I would suggest to our farmers to avoid some of these costly mistakes, is to shop around. And while you're doing that as well, make sure you're looking into the fine print of some of these finance companies or your banks, right? Is there a fee to open an account? Is there a fee, an annual fee that's associated, or even just a fee to use the account? And then another thing is that with John Deere Financial, there are no fees that are associated with it, but also it's unsecured debt. So John Deere Financial does not take a lien against your farm. You might have equipment that's financed with us. We don't take a lien against the equipment for the multi-use account for your financing of your seed, your feed, your crop inputs. And so that's another thing that you most certainly should be cognizant of when you are using a finance institution. Are they taking a lien out against my farm? So you really want to make sure you're reading the fine print and understand what you're getting yourself into. And again, absolutely shop around. Find the best option that's out there that works for you and your business.
Gotcha. So we've made a couple comments about prices being low and tough times we're kind of in. I'm interested in what your perspective would be kind of from the financial world on where the ag economy is going. Obviously, we're just speculating things, but where do you think it's going? Commodity prices are tough. Different advice you may have. Obviously, searching for different options financial-wise, but where do you see us going, and maybe a little bit more advice on managing things? Yeah,
so I would start off with a disclaimer in that I'm not an economist. This is, kind of Stephanie's internal opinion here. But, again, my family farms, and I'm talking to customers and merchants and dealers every day. And so from my perspective, I'm cautiously optimistic. I would say, first off, we know the ag market is cyclical, right? I touched base on the Great Depression. I talked about the farm crisis of the 80s, and those certainly aren't the only two times that farmers have had a rough go at it. And so we know that the business is up and it's down, and it's going to be in the middle sometimes. And so I think we're kind of in between some of those cycles. And as we rounded out 2025, we had several bright spots. When you look at the livestock sector, specifically cattle or the dairy area, those ended pretty favorably. Even our corn, our beans, our wheat, I think that the prices rebounded on that. But where we're really still pretty cautious, I would say, is in the crop input area, because even though maybe our farmers or producers have seen some better prices for some of those crops, but the compressed margin is really still pretty tough for the farmers. And so I would say as we go into 26, sectors across the U.S. are starting to stabilize, But, we still have those structural pressures out there. And so, without some relief really in that input area, I think we're still going to continue to see some tightening, especially kind of in that row crop area where we're just the compressed margins make it hard for customers to do business.
Yes. Yep. For sure. Very interesting. So as we kind of bring this to a close, I guess, where can farmers or merchants or anything find more information on John Deere Financial, or maybe talk with someone with Deere Financial about some of the different options that apply specifically to them?
Yep. And so first of all, I would say, so as I mentioned, I'm an area sales manager. My territory is Kansas and Missouri, but there are 16 other people just like me out across the U.S. that are working with the merchants throughout probably your area, and helping to support them. So absolutely, they can be used as a resource. But, online, there's lots of information out there. If you just go out to Deere.com, plenty of information, or even just using Google, use your, or whatever search engine you're familiar with, just go out there and type in any information that you're looking for. But here's what I will say from a customer perspective. Selfishly, I certainly want to promote John Deere Financial. So if you're interested in becoming a customer and taking advantage of some of the multi-use opportunities through your local merchant, by all means, go out to Deere.com and apply. You can apply online. You can go out to Deere.com and print off an application, and then you can mail it in. You can fax it in. We're happy to accept your application in whatever way you feel comfortable. And then also, if you already have a multi-use account, because we know we already have customers out there that with a multi-use account, but maybe aren't even using it for the feed, the seed, the crop inputs, because they didn't know that's what they could use it for. By all means, when you're going to your local cooperative or your local agronomist or whoever it might be that you're buying these products from, ask them if they accept multi-use account. And then I would also say to those merchants, if you accept John Deere Financial multi-use, work with those customers, take advantage of the programs that are available to you and use those as a sales tool, because you want your customers to get as much benefit out of it as you can. And then I would also say for those merchants that maybe aren't authorized users to be able to offer that financing, again, they can go out to Deere.com and they can apply to become a merchant or get in touch with an individual just like myself, and we can absolutely help to enroll you as well.
I know with A Better Way to Farm, we love working with Deere Financial. They provide a great service for our customers and provide a great tool for them to utilize on their farm. It's a great thing, something to definitely look into. Thank you, Stephanie, for your time today. Reach out to us, ask some more questions, and we can help get in touch and answer some of those questions on Deere Financial. Thank you, and have a good day.